All right, I have returned. Are there any questions that I need to look at?
They're asking if Polonia was the crazy Sabat guy that liked to dive into the ground and, I believe, appear behind people.
No, that is Lambach Ruthen.
Nailed it. I knew it. I was just not 100% certain.
High five!
A powerful elder who uh, Marcus had heard was only 4 or 5 steps away from Cain himself.
Scary stuff. I mean, literally, when you're 4 or 5 steps, that means you're 5th or 6th generation, and that's serious bad news bears. I believe everybody but Aaron is back.
Alright. That's fine, we don't need him anyway. We'll go ahead and focus on Joseph here. Sean, are you back?
Yeah, sorry, had a cat.
That's perfectly fine. Superific. Alright, so Joseph separates himself, finds shadows, and very easily blends himself into them with the power of obfuscate. What now?
Well, I'm looking for someone to impersonate. It's just looking for someone off the street, someone that it'll be easy enough to get their face, but not have to worry about someone pointing out and recognizing them. And then from there, my plan is to get near Elysium, and hope to be able to tell a vampire, or maybe even go in and hope to tell a vampire. And if I get caught, my ultimate plan is to just end up, in front of Boss Callahan if I can swing it, and just basically say, hey, I want to be an anarch. I want to turn this whole thing into all of New York into anarch-controlled territory, which is basically the truth. And to hope to get him to help me in return for being a anarch off of Staten Island. If I don't end up getting caught, my plan is to just basically keep searching around until I find any whiff of where Cutter is, or anyone that might even know of where she is.
Okay. The first thing that has to be regarded is your Mask of 1,000 Faces, but it's worth noting that there's no one traveling along the streets that you can actually get a good look at enough to try to make your disguise.
Stepping into a corner store long enough to see someone's face, just poke around it, not even reveal my face, just like look around like, you don't have what I want, and then walking out after I get a look at whoever's at the counter would be good enough too.
Is that what your character would like to do?
Yeah, it's pretty much the best plan I have.
Okay. There's certainly convenience stores that are open at this time of the morning. Your character ends up coming across, and you open the door, which attracts the attention. That doesn't look like there's anyone inside beyond the man behind the counter. You open the door. There's a little jingle that plays as the door is open, and the man looks towards the door, and his eyes widen because he doesn't see anyone there.
Well, well, I guess if I still have obfuscate up, I didn't realize I'd be able to open a door like that. I'll just get a look at his face and then walk out.
Okay. And with, I suppose you did end up rolling the dice there. For manipulation plus performance, difficulty 7, it's 2 successes.
I don't think did I roll that?
I don't know, what did you end up rolling? Because it's manipulation plus performance at difficulty 7. What'd you roll?
What was that last roll? Do you know? I'm sorry. I didn't. I thought I didn't roll.
Just go ahead and just roll then. Just go ahead and roll. Okay, that is no successes. Which case, you make your little impersonation mask with your cloak of 1,000 faces while this gentleman is staring wide-eyed and shaking his head, going, "What the hell?" You know, still looking very shocked at the door that's still open while you're standing there, having completed your disguise.
Oh no, I just wanted to look at his face. I didn't want to do the
Right.
thing until I actually left.
Right. No, you're still invisible. I just wanted to note that.
Oh, okay. I'm
Right.
sorry. I didn't know exactly the order of things.
Cool.
Well then, get near Elysium. Assuming I don't realize I fail.
Nope, you don't realize it. Go ahead and you leave the door, and the guy shakes his head. He's still very clearly staring at the door that just fucking opened. He's probably gonna end up writing it off as the win because that seems like the best possible explanation. And you continue.
Even if they check the recording, what are they going to see? Him freaking out over someone sticking his head in the door, and then me just leaving. Probably because the guy was freaking out, and I was like, oh shit.
I don't want to be in here alone with you. Okay, so you head off then, and it takes some travel time, but you eventually do end up spotting you think looks like some sort of museum. A signage indicates take you some time since you didn't ask for directions or anything, but you got a fair enough handle on where this thing would be located, and yeah, it's the Garibaldi Museum. Taking a look at it, it's a building that's a few stories tall. It covers not a big area. It's a little significant area, and it's dark. As in, the building is made out of stone, either stone columns and pillars. It has windows, of course. Shutters are snapping as the wind blows by. The heavy rain is still persistent, by the way. It's very difficult to perceive, but there's no lights that are on inside.
So the place looks empty?
I'm doubtful it's empty being Elysium, but that said, I can't very well just walk up to the front door. I have to wait until I see someone else roaming around, and hope to figure out where they're coming in and out of. Staying obfuscated for this part.
Okay. There are many shadows. It's not a problem. Jermaine, Marcus, I'm glad Aaron's back, by the way, and Byron, you all, with your directions, have done a fairly decent job of heading through the streets, and you too have seen the Garibaldi Museum off in the distance there. Heavy rain has not let up. It's still windy. Marcus, the uneasy feeling has subsided now that you're here. And just, you're looking here. Joseph, you can see the other player characters as they approach as well. How are you all, though, going about your approach? Have you just been walking casually? Have you been trying to stay hidden through stealth? Have you?
I let Byron take the lead, like in terms of how we approach.
Byron's just walking. He's not trying to stay out of sight necessarily. I mean, he's going to try to stay out of the wind and rain as much as possible, but trying to stay out of sight, not so much.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing.
Right. As you all then end up approaching, you've reached the front of the building. Windows are certainly, the shutters are snapping a bit in the wind. Perhaps it was not expected to be this windy for the past, like 17, 18, however many hours it's been. The fact that it's still raining constantly. The ground is, effectively the grass is so slick and coated with mud trees are just absolutely drenched in water. It easily dribbles down from the leaves. You know, it's not like a dick thing where someone could just shake a tree that's been rained on it and, you know, water would drip fall over you because of how much has been raining here. And so much water is flowing through the streets and sluicing itself through the, you know, into the sewers and what have you. Sidewalks are fairly okay. It's just very slick to walk on. But with you all walking as carefully as you are, you manage just fine. What would the three of you like to do?
Well, Byron is going to circle the building looking to see if there's an obvious access point. I doubt there is, but he's going to try.
There's the front door.
Okay, we'll try the front door first. I mean, see if that opens.
Okay. Byron then is walking off a bit ahead to check out the building, and he's going for the front door, I guess, if he had told his two companions there.
He's not going to tell it, but he's obviously going for the front door, so they should know. He's not going to try to juke him out or anything.
All right, Jermaine and Marcus, Byron is obviously going for the front door of the museum.
Well, without any other obvious signs of entry, we're going to follow.
Okay. Jermaine?
I'm just here as backup.
Just wanted to
Where
make
they
sure.
go.
Okay. So Byron gets up to the front door, tries it. There's a double set. There's the first these first set of glass doors here that you can see through, and then there's a small little cubby. You know how those buildings are that like to be fancy and protect themselves from the outside elements and what have you. There's like two sets of glass doors. You peer into the museum. Yep, looks dark. You try it, door opens.
All right, I go in then.
All right. You're inside the little, like, cubby hole type area between the two glass doors. Would you like to try the second one?
I'll knock on that one.
Byron knocks on the glass pane.
If there's no response, then he will try the door.
What I now want you to roll for me is a dexterity plus athletics at difficulty 7.
Who's rolling this?
Fail.
Byron is sort of met with surprise. He's just sort of peering curiously at this door that he's tapped on, with Marcus and Jermaine standing behind the door. Suddenly, with a burst, even though there's nothing on the other side of it, swings open. It smacks Byron square in the face, not dealing any damage, but it's such a forceful and surprising blow that it's enough to daze him.
Classy.
Marcus, Jermaine, a door has just rapidly swung open into Byron's face without him pulling on it, and there's nothing on the other side except for the darkness and the very dim light that's coming in from outside.
Jermaine's not going to pull out his gun because that seems like a good way to get shot.
I think it's an invitation to come in.
The glass door, very curiously, is actually still remaining open. You know, normally these doors end up swinging shut to protect themselves from the elements or what have you, the interior. But it's just staying right there, in Byron's face.
Well, he's taking us 2 steps back. I mean, and he's a little dazed. So either you can wait for him to come to, or which shouldn't take too long.
No, it just says a few seconds of what? Might have been a loud curse involved.
Yeah, I'm sure it was like, damn it, what was that? You know.
Or maybe a mother such and such.
fill in the blank. Whatever colorful terminology you want to use.
Oh no,
Byron may have
that's a
used
good
it.
one. Just like, fill in the blank. Yeah.
I knew a guy that would do that. It was really annoying. All right. Well, if nobody does anything, I'll go first through.
I'll follow.
Yeah, I'll bring up the rear.
All right. The glass door, curiously enough, ends up swinging shut behind the three of you as you all step into the very dark area that is the museum. Off to your left, there's a gift shop, which is closed for the night. Off to your right, there's a little restaurant eatery type thing, which is also closed for the night. There is no light carrying on that any of you can perceive or discern by the looks of things. So beyond the dim light that's filtering in from outside, you're kind of a bit in the dark.
But dump Tish.
Byron, you have a flashlight, right?
I do. It seems like, we were let in by somebody, I'm assuming. Now, so they know we're here, and if they want us to know where to go, Byron is saying this rather loudly. He's saying if they want us to know where to go, they'll let us know. If not, I guess we can use a flashlight.
Right up. Marcus, you're a perceptive enough individual with your aspects. As your head rotates here, the dim light, you see a very narrow, a small green light on a panel off to the side, showing that an alarm system, which is apparently for the time being disarmed.
Whew. At least they don't leave the alarm's off.
And then it suddenly
For
turns
now.
back on while you're walking in now.
My hubris.
What has science done?
Okay. So is Byron actually going to be pulling out a flashlight, or are you guys, because nothing happens in response to you three just standing there, dripping wet on the cold tile floor.
Byron, get out your flashlight.
Yeah, all right. Byron will pull out the flashlight and shine it around. Whatever.
Okay.
Doubt he'll see anything, but he'll look for like stairs or something that might go down to a basement or something like that.
All right. Joseph, you've watched your three companions just simply walk up to the Garibaldi Museum, open the door. Very difficult to see with the distance and such rain, but you're pretty sure that a second interior glass door smacked Byron in the face before the three of them walked in.
Now he's a little bit happier, but not going to follow anywhere near them.
Yeah, and the three of them are clearly beyond the two glass doors. It's really hard to see, but there's a bit of light suddenly, as what you can only assume is Byron has pulled out his flashlight. Byron, you can, with the flashlight, see more particular things, such as through the windows of the gift shop, see all the sorts of the cool type things there are. It's basically a museum devoted to discussing the history of Staten Island, and prominent members of the community and what have you that played a difference in the rising of the neighborhoods and stuff like that. Taking a look at various exhibits that you possibly spot, there are definitely stairwells, actually escalators that lead up to. There's a few floors associated with this, but in terms of like an immediate basement stairwell, there is none. Jordan, does Marcus have his heightened senses activated?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
I'm going to regret this, aren't I?
I'm just making sure, that's all. So that if I ask you to do a perception plus alertness later, I'll know.
Or if all the lights come on suddenly.
That could happen.
So there are no stairs at all going up or down, or just down?
there's escalators that lead up.
Escalators.
Yeah, which are basically stairs right now since they're not moving. But
Right.
as for stairwells down, no. You're standing out here in the main, grand foyer area with, so many, marvelous technological things for 1998. All these glorious history. You see various exhibits being pointed out where, papers and documents and perhaps little portfolios on the wonderful people that you don't give a fuck about are here in Staten Island, talking about the life and history of these grand pioneers and financiers and other important folks.
Yeah, Byron got about 3 words into that, and he got so bored that he decided to go upstairs.
He got so bored that he got really bored. The end.
All right.
You know what I like about escalators? Is they can never be out of order. They can only temporarily be stairs.
Indeed.
Dimitri Martin.
Actually, not Dimitri Martin, Mitch Hedberg.
I think that Dimitri Martin did that bit too.
He stole it from Mitch Hedberg.
Anyway, Byron heads up the escalator. Would Marcus like to follow him?
Yes, because otherwise, how am I going to use him for a patsy?
Right, Jermaine follows as muscle. Joseph, your 3 coterie members, your 2, and Jermaine go completely out of sight.
Well, I hope that they don't die.
Peering about, hey, Joseph, go ahead and give me a perception plus alertness difficulty 6 while you're standing out here. Please.
Just adding up the day.
That's perfectly fine. Just wanted to say please, that's all. Alright, it's still raining. Still pretty goddamn windy. Really hasn't changed. It ebbs and flows a bit with the passage of time, but just remains as it is. A constant. Never ending. Undying. Alright, you 3 kids playing around here in the museum. You've gone up to the 2nd floor, where it's more of the same thing that will bore Byron out of his mind. What you end up hearing tends to be your only squeaking footsteps as they cross the tile floors. It's rather chilly in here, almost like if the air conditioner has been turned on, but, considering how it's just a few degrees above freezing anyway outside, it's like, what the fuck? You guys don't have a heater running or anything? Then you remember, oh yeah, the building closes at 5 p.m. It's been a few hours.
Well, if there's no obvious, obviously there's nothing there. Byron's going to turn around and say, well, I don't see anything. What do you guys want to do?
That's up to you.
So... No, sorry. Let me try that again. So, what does this night have in store for me, seeing 3 glory... No, let me try that again. I gotta play it on the voice. I couldn't really decide on this. Oh, no, it's too close to the goddamn blockhead voice. Never mind, pretend I said nothing. You heard nothing. It was part of a museum exhibit.
Wow, this museum exhibit makes a lot of noise.
Byron says, what? Oh, yeah, that? Sure.
And over here we have the exhibit for Arthur Kane, grand writer and pioneer of Staten Island financiers. Gave this borough the proper credence and respect that it deserved here. Wah, 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 wah. Almost as if it's like some sort of like sensor-activated type thing.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
Well, Byron, while I suspect that out of character, maybe this will have something to do, Byron is just going to ignore it because he has no interest in listening to the history of Staten Island.
All right. There's some sounds coming from the the floor above you. Go ahead and you three give me Perception plus Alertness difficulty 8, please. This is auditory.
Three successes?
I got one. Oh, no, I didn't get any because it was difficulty 8. Yeah, never mind, failed.
Yeah, difficulty 8. And you as well, Jermaine, Plox, K-Lol, THX by.
Aaron,
Yes?
you have to roll some dice.
Fuck. My headphones cut out there for a minute. I was going to play along.
Perception plus Alertness difficulty 8, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I got this. I say before I roll all ones.
By the way, Jermaine, you're not a vampire. You're really fucking Ghoul.
Yup.
You got a success.
Yup.
Certainly, Byron and Jermaine hear some footsteps from above on the 3rd floor. Marcus, with your 3 successes, it sounds like 4 people, one of which appears to have a cane, because there is an additional and a lighter thump that's striking the tile floor.
Marcus is going to whisper, 4 people, one might have a cane. Above us. How do you want to play this one?
Well, Byron is going to say, I don't know if you would think this far ahead, but the best thing to do would be to have 2 people kind of hide and the last person go and greet those people. So that's, we'll say Byron says, let me handle this, and we'll just walk upstairs. You can follow him or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Byron actually would have said, let's have 2 people hide and like that, Marcus would have been like, they probably would have heard all the squeaking. You know, the shoes.
It's very true. There's been a lot of squeaking you guys have been emitting as you've traveled on the tile floor with your very wet, very muddy shoes.
We haven't been taking any great effort to be stealthy either.
No, you have not.
So at this point, we should just, try not to be seen as stealthy and, just go on up.
Don't give them a reason to shoot up. So yeah,
Exactly. Maybe ignorance isn't an excuse. It usually isn't.
Okay. As you all but stand there in indecision, what ends up happening is rather above you, coming from the access point from the escalators, there is a voice. As the lights, rather mercifully for Marcus, begin slowly raising up in the museum. And Joseph will notice outside that the lights are coming on.
Oh, well, Byron was heading up towards the escalator, but...
It's really a situation where you just turn around, basically, and you see this then.
Okay.
There are 4 gentlemen, and the voice you hear is, "So what brings 3 little neonates here to the den of this bear?" You all turn around, and you do end up seeing one older gentleman flanked by 3. The older gentleman is a man who obviously hasn't kept up with the times. He has a full bushy beard and the elaborate guard of a 19th century alderman. Small eyes peer at you from the shadow cast by his top hat, and his body is very healthy looking. The gray in his hair and the wrinkles around his eyes suggest a life well lived, and even in death, he smells like a tobacco pipe. And there is a gem-tipped cane that he is carrying with him, which is most likely an affectation. The three men flanking him are definitely male, and they're pretty nondescript, judging by the tokens you're all staring at. So nondescript as to be entirely unmemorable, and you're pretty sure you could never recognize their faces again. But they all seem very attentive of the man who's one story higher than you, looking down the escalator.
All right, Byron will turn off and pocket his flashlight slowly. I mean, not going for a gun or anything. And he's going to hold out both his hands, palms up, and say, "We wish for parley, if you would like. I mean, if you would admit it."
The three vampires flanking this alderman here all sort of smile and crane their heads. Looking at them, they do have a various notings of actually like piercings from perhaps the eyebrow or the septum, the bridge of the nose, maybe a lower lip one, wearing a variety of mishmashed gear. They are not carrying any weapons, though, but they do have a rather pale pallor attached to them, so most certainly vampires, as well as Boss Callahan himself, which you can very well assume, judging by descriptions you've heard of who this man is. Looking down at you all, he thinks a bit and says, "Very well. Parley, then." And he slowly ends up walking down the escalator, followed by the three gentlemen following him.
All right, well, Byron will wait politely till he reaches the bottom.
Okay.
And then he'll say, "Hello, my name is Byron Rand. You might know me from the Astoria district or domain that just had the," and he'll say this in a kind of, facetious way, that just had a gas explosion.
Why does this pertain to me?
I believe this may have been the Sabbat attacking us, or something that is now in your possession.
My possession?
Yes. Does the name Leslie Cutter mean anything to you?
The man furrows his bushy gray brows underneath his jaunty top hat. The cane taps a bit on the ground. Truly, he is an eccentric and rather really has not updated with the times at all. Sort of fits in with the whole, perhaps the boss name fits back to the old boss Tammany and all sorts of corruption that happened back during the mid to late 1800s here in New York City. He sort of thinks about it for a bit. The brows lift above his small eyes. Yes, her. But she is not my property. She is a vampire and cannot be owned. The other three vampires behind him nod their assent quickly.
No. Well, your protection, I should say. Definitely in your domain. It's just a heads up that if they don't already know that she is here, and I suspect they do, and he'll take out the photo that he still has, and he will show it. This was found on one of the Sabbat. I don't know who she was with or where this was taken. Maybe you do.
I see. Go ahead and give me a, we'll describe how exactly you're trying to convey this to Boss Callahan. We'll say that perhaps maybe a charisma plus empathy, or a manipulation plus empathy, or because you need to try to convince Boss Callahan here of your inherent rightness. Your intentions for being why you're here.
Well, I mean, I do have the persuasive thing from manipulation, so that might work. Also, charisma might be good. I mean, it's a lesser role, but right. I'll leave it up to you. Do you think manipulation or charisma works better here?
We'll go ahead and say, let's say manipulation here for the purposes of that. Even you're trying to manipulate him into having a better disposition towards you. A difficulty 8, but I suppose your enchanting voice also works on vampires, so that would apply as well. So difficulty 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and the 4. And there's a 5th one from the 10 that's canceled out by the 1. 4 successes.
Right.
Go ahead and make a roll for Boss Callahan here. The small eyes look at you a bit suspiciously, and he glances over towards Marcus and Jermaine. So it took 3 of you to come here and give me this possibly useful, perhaps unfactual information? Rather than saying false, he went for something wordy like unfactual. The 3 vampires behind him nod.
Well, this city in the past couple weeks has gotten a lot more dangerous. Certain events have made Anarch versus, or I won't say versus, has strained the relation between the Camarilla and the Anarchs. So...
Do you presume to tell me things I already know?
Merely trying to say why we would want more people with us, traveling to possibly hostile. Not you, but perhaps some other Anarchs might not take kindly to seeing us.
Indeed not. We have made our intentions quite clear as to not desiring the company of outsiders. He tilts his head, which does sort of make it curious, but I imagine anyone resourceful enough could get here. So, that's it then. You're free to go. He says in a dismissive manner.
Right. Byron will try to press his luck. Is there any way that we may get in touch with Leslie Cutter?
The hard eyes narrow, and at this point I'm going to want you to make a manipulation plus empathy difficulty after being adjusted, based on your bonuses, of 7.
Does not look like it.
With the one that is that's definitely a failure. Would you like to use your lucky thing to re-roll that? You have 2 uses in this story.
Once more. I'll use 1.
Okay.
Nope. Again, same difference. All right. Well.
Would you like to use your final use of lucky for the entire story?
I'm not sure that you can do that. I mean, the answer to that is no. I'll just take it. I mean, you lose it. If I lost one, that's fine. But I think that the description says you only get 1 reroll. I could be mistaken.
You know, I was just going to go ahead and allow you for the purposes of this one if you wanted to do that. But you very clearly do not.
Well, if it's that important...
I'm just giving you the chance. You could have used a willpower point on this for all I cared to automatically have a success, but you didn't. So, if you want to use the final dose of lucky for the entire story, you're more than welcome to.
No, I mean, I'll just take it. I didn't think of the willpower. I should have done that. I have frickin' 9 of them, but I just didn't think of it. So we'll go with fouling this up.
The hard eyes stare at you and sweep over Byron as well as the 2 others and says, I do not see Joseph among you, so I do not see any reason why I should be answering your queries. You could be anyone. Perhaps, he gestures with the hand, not holding the cane, you three are the ones, the Sabbat, who are pursuing this Leslie Cutter. The three vampires behind him quickly nod their assent.
So yes, I can see your point, and I understand your suspicion. Joseph is around. I can...
Excuse me?
He came with us, but traveled here separately. So we're not sure. So when I say around, he is somewhere on Staten Island.
He's not exactly very tall. He sort of leans closer to you. So he's risking himself in Anarch domain, you say?
Yes. He's probably out of sight, I'm guessing.
So he is using the powers bestowed on him by his blood to hide himself.
Byron will nod. It said, if you allow me, I can try to get in touch with him.
Child, do you understand the concept of how Elysium works?
I didn't say he's in here. I don't know if he is. But I said he's possibly close. He was heading here.
Boss Callahan gives you a very condescending glare. The three vampires behind him are sort of looking at him for, what to do, but he says nothing, just looking at Byron.
Well, I will say, well, I shall go find him then, if it's possible. I can even call him from here, if you would like. Now, Byron, given Boss Callahan's affect, I mean, he's not going to go reaching for a cell phone right off the bat. He's going to get permission.
He actually ends up saying nothing.
All right. Well, then Byron is going to slowly reach for his cell phone, which actually is in the same pocket as his gun. So this will be a problem. But reach in there and try to take out the cell phone slowly. And he will dial Joseph's number if he gets it out.
Okay. Joseph.
That proved difficult because Joseph does not have a phone on him.
All right.
Well, that's, I guess Byron doesn't know. If he gets no answer, then
The phone rings and it reaches Joseph's voicemail.
All right, he didn't answer. All right, well, Byron will say, I guess there's nothing to do here. I apologize for taking up your time, and I guess we will leave you to your Elysium, or not, whatever this is called, their thing. He would know. Byron would know. Sanctuary.
Yes, I suppose you will. Joseph, you've actually, with your quiet post here, spotted someone while you were walking. It's difficult to see through the rain, but he's definitely coming closer, and very close, and he's actually going to be heading through the front door of the museum. The man in question is heavily scarred. He's wearing a dark leather trench coat, and he's walking with a rolling gait, almost as if he has a limp he's perhaps trying to compensate for. The heavy scars cut into the patches of his beard. He has dark eyes, very little hair on top, and a rather wide nose. Like I said, that he, despite his rolling gait and perhaps his sort of near limp, he moves with the sort of casualness that you would expect either from a predator or perhaps someone who simply does not care. The eyes flick with a measured, controlled, very methodic, perhaps even military-like, as he gazes from side to side all around him constantly. And you've seen him coming from some distance away. What would you like to do?
Hide further in the shadows. If I can get a good look of his face, that'd be nice, but if not, I'm more concerned with, my first concern is staying out of sight, and staying actually outside of what is Elysium.
Okay. You're not exactly sure what the barrier ends up being for, what Elysium, exactly is or not is, but...
As far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm staying on the other side of the street, I'm not crossing the street actually onto the property.
Okay. He actually ends up stopping by the signage that leads to the welcoming visitors to the museum. He tilts his head, cocks it a bit, as if he's listening to the rain. He peers around curiously. His eyes don't focus on your location, though. And then the head, very slowly and methodically, almost as if he were some sort of automaton, tilts itself back normally. And he heads to the front door, and through the front door. His face is certainly recognizable, and it's one that you could pick out. He has a sort of an aura about him, a presence that makes him memorable. Not a pretty man, though. Boss Callahan is still standing with the two neonates and the ghoul here on the second-ish floor of the museum, still looking condescendingly after, Byron's pretty much volunteered. All right, we'll leave.
Yeah, well, he'd stop if Marcus says anything, but if he's just going to follow him, I guess Byron will head back out because he doesn't know where Joseph is. I mean, he expects he's around here close by, but, so he'll just walk out.
Let's just go before we make things worse.
Yeah, that's where Byron's at. I mean, he said his piece. He warned him, so if shit hits the fan, well, at least he's done that.
All right.
So, yeah, I head down the escalators.
All right. You two, Boss Callahan gives you all a sort of, you can feel his eyes on you as you all turn your backs to him and head back down. The glance stays at Jermaine a bit, perhaps a curious look in Boss Callahan's eyes, but the three yes-men are sort of, shifting their feet around a bit nervously. And as you head down to the first floor, the lights are such that you can find your way pretty easily in heading for the door. There is a gentleman on the other side who ends up opening and stepping into the main area by the gift shop and the restaurants. He is the gentleman that I described to Marcus. Not to Marcus, to Joseph. Jermaine, you would end up being the only one potential rumors who would have heard of this man, and not because you've served time with anarchs, but simply because you have an ear on various sorts of curious things that'd be happening around. This gentleman is Duke Wiley, also known as the Wily Fist. He's the enforcer of Boss Callahan, perhaps something akin to, like, say, a sheriff. Known as a master of his own musculature, very great reputation as a fierce combatant. It's said that nothing has ever taken him by surprise.
In that case, Jermaine is going to take great care not to attempt to.
The man stops walking. He was noticing the three of you. He tilts his head curiously.
Well, Byron will continue on, and when he gets close, he will nod politely and see if the guy says anything or motions to him or lets him pass or whatever.
He says nothing, ultimately, nor does he try to block your way. Just, he ends up dripping water and mud himself, and his eyes look down from the three of you to all of the mud and water that has been tracked by the three of you during your travel here. Back up. He steps a bit out of the way, so you can leave.
Yeah, since, I mean, if he knew who he was, maybe Byron would say something, but he's just some guy there. So
it's not an unfriendly gaze or glare he's giving like Boss Callan. It's more of like a very studious look, as if he's observing you with his eyes.
Yeah, Byron will say, weather's a bitch, isn't it?
There's a grunt of assent.
Byron will continue on. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't know him. He said his piece to Boss Callahan and figures there's not much else. He was invited to leave. He's going to make his way out.
All right, Marcus.
Mark is just going to nod at him and then keep walking because he doesn't want to get into a fight right now.
Right. Jermaine.
Jermaine's going to walk out without making any sudden movements.
Right. It's noticed that the Duke Wily actually takes his time to, he peers more curiously at Jermaine the Ghoul as he walks past, and the lips curl upward beneath the heavy scars and the patches of mustache and beard in sort of a perhaps an attempt at a smile of sorts.
Jermaine will smile back at him.
The man then turns his back towards the three of you and begins his slow, methodic way of walking through the first floor of the building as you all leave. All right. Joseph, you've spotted that very recognizable, or at least noticeable, memorable gentleman walk into the museum, and walking out are Byron, Marcus, and Jermaine.
Well, once they're off Elysium, once they're walking away, I'll meet up and come up behind Marcus.
Okay. Byron, Marcus, and Jermaine, what are you three doing now that you've just left the museum and you're standing about a bit, technically still within Anarch Elysium?
Say, well, Byron will look around and say, well, I think we might as well head back to the boat unless we can find Joseph around here somewhere.
I wonder where he got off to.
Yeah. He could be anywhere. I mean, for all we know, he just ditched us and decided, I'm going to stay here on Staten Island from now on.
Well, without him, we can't convince Boss Callahan of anything. So let's just go to the boat, and maybe he'll meet up with us there later.
Fair enough. It's not we can find him ourselves.
All right. You all begin stepping away from the museum to head back to the boat. Joseph, you walk up behind Marcus. You three are allowed to since Joseph is taking no pains to move silently, you definitely hear the splashing of water as footsteps are being made behind you.
Byron will say, "So, who's our guest?"
Marcus, if you all please inform me of what exactly happened.
Yes. Well, in that building, we met.
He said Marcus, not Byron.
I thought Marcus, if you all, but okay, that's fine.
No, I said Marcus, if you would.
Okay, I misheard.
Inside the museum, we met Mr. Callahan, and Byron informed him of the situation to the best of his abilities and attempted to ask him where Leslie Cutter was. We failed in that endeavor, and now we are leaving.
I was kind of hoping for a Toreador's perspective, like, well, we saw this exhibit and that exhibit, and we got mud all over the really nice tile floors, and...
It could
he says that. It's just subtle.
Great, you're making jokes about it yourself. Fantastic.
So, Boss Callahan just let you walk in and walk out? I mean, but he doesn't mind people walking in. I mean, can you give me more details? I mean, I think it's, you know...
Your name may have come up.
Yeah, Byron will speak here and say, Boss Callahan wouldn't give us any information, Leslie Cutter, because you weren't present. I'm certain that if you, with or without us, were to go back, he would probably give you the information.
Did he bring my name up, or did you?
He did.
He did? Just out of character, I'm pretty sure you actually brought it up first.
No, I brought up Leslie Cutter, and then Boss Callahan said...
You all, Byron identified himself as, and the rest of the group with him as part of the vampires who have their domain in Astoria, who are part of the real estate business there.
Yeah, just out of character, I'm pretty sure Byron was the first to bring up that I was around. I think he brought that up before Boss actually ever mentioned my name.
No, he asked, I don't see Joseph among you, so how can I trust that you are not
yeah, but that was...
And then that's when Byron said...
Krypsyn is remembering it correctly.
Came over with him.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that. I thought he said that Krypsyn said that I was around, and then he said he doesn't see me around. I must be. Anyways, hold on. I'm sorry. Did you said just now? You said he said I wasn't around. I guess that gives me the idea that he might let me see her.
That was the indication to me. It's definitely a dead end without you, though.
Or his time might have been wasted now.
Considering Joseph doesn't like Byron and doesn't like that his name got brought up, turning to Marcus and Jermaine actually too. Is that everything I should know?
Well, they had some nice exhibits.
Thank you, Marcus. I'll keep that in mind.
They seemed ready for a fight, if one were to drop.
I would presume so. Perhaps it's my turn to stick my face in the bee's nest then? And
Oh, and they had Wiley.
I have no idea who that is.
Big scarred up dude just walked in the door.
Looks like he can tear your head off with his bare hands.
Turning to Jermaine, anything I should know about him?
They call him the master of his own musculature.
Yes, his moniker is the Wily Fist.
They nicknamed him the Wily Fist. He's kind of like a sheriff.
Well then, I guess this is as good a time as any. And unless you stop me, I'll not obfuscate it because hoping that, it'll go nicely enough to turn around and walk straight in.
Are you three going to let him do this alone?
I mean, we've been dismissed.
I mean, if we go back in there, Boss Callahan might get angry. If Boss Callahan gets angry, I don't know what happens.
But you did find Joseph. That's
Right.
what Byron said he was going to do.
Yeah, well...
Byron can go in there with Joseph.
He should get a point of willpower back for that achievement.
Okay, sure, I get a point of willpower. I go from 9 to 9. Okay, so... yeah, I mean, Byron wants to go back in. I mean, he'll let Joseph take lead, but he's very... he's curious.
If Marcus and Jermaine are hesitating, when Byron starts to follow him, Joseph will turn around and say, I think this will be better if I go by myself. And turn and start walking, unless you say something.
I'll let him go.
I mean, if he wants to go, he's going to go. This is Anarch territory. Who am I to tell him what he can do and not do?
Well, as a storyteller, to remind you all that you all, of course, are going to be held responsible should something not get done in a timely manner on behalf of, Sheriff Kadir Al-Asmai. This was sort of a group project where if one fails, you all will still get punished.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an employee.
Yeah, well, see, I've just been sitting there thinking, and Byron still chafes. I mean, he doesn't trust Joseph where Leslie Cutter is concerned after he essentially shipped her off without telling anyone. Now, at the time, he let it go because it didn't seem like a big deal. But now it's come back, and it's ended up in their businesses getting blown up, twice, essentially. And yeah, he's probably going to say, I think it's better off if we have more eyes on this. And he's just going to follow him.
Well, then Joseph's going to stop. I'm not going to be able to say it again. Byron, you just recently shoved my hand into a bear trap with the sheriff and the anarch. I would prefer that you not set off another bear trap here in anarch territory.
No, I'm going to say no. No, I did not set off any bear trap. You set off the bear trap when you let that thin blood go. I'm here trying to help bail your ass out because we're working as a coterie to fix this. So if you want to go up there alone, that's fine. But your track record already with Leslie Cutter to do things without letting the rest of the coterie know. I want to see what happens.
Byron, you haven't been trying to bail my ass out. You've been trying to bail your ass out while lighting mine on fire.
No, if you can't see that, that's fine. I'm trying to get all of us out of this the best way I know how. Lying to the people that can kick our asses is not the best way, in my opinion.
If Marcus would like to come, I'd certainly like to have his opinion. That's actually probably a lie, but...
Marcus, Jermaine, while Joseph and Byron are having their spat there, particularly Jermaine, since he's pretty well attentive, you notice that someone has rather quite well ended up sort of just like sneaking back out of the museum, and he's not looming immediately behind Joseph, perhaps like perhaps say 2 meters away. He's just sort of like stepped out of the shadows himself. It's Duke Wily, and he's got his head cocked curiously as he's peering at the four of you.
Let's just get inside.
Hello?
The voice that emits for his throat is not quite something you would expect given a man of his reputation. He's rather soft-spoken as he's peering you all curiously. He's like, "Can I help the four of you with something?"
Byron will say, yes, Boss Callahan asked me to find someone. I have found him. So I figured I'd bring him back in and present him. And I'll
Byron, you are not in the ivory tower. You do not present someone else like they're yours.
It's only polite.
Can we just get inside?
So, Marcus, Jermaine, you'll notice that Duke Wily is actually looking at Joseph and Byron with an amused expression on his face.
Yeah, can you two married couples, whatever, get done arguing inside when we're... get this over with?
Inside sounds good. Byron's gonna make his way to the front. The front of the building, I mean.
I'm waiting on Wiley.
Byron walks past. Duke says nothing, just looks at Byron as he walks past, looks towards Joseph, and I presume Marcus walks past as well.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep. Jermaine following their suit?
Yep.
In that case, Duke Wiley's just left with a curiously, cocked expression of his head, just staring at Joseph. The bemused expression remains on his face. Beneath the patches of scars, and of course, his thin mustache and beard.
Nod here, just a nod to him, and then I'll go ahead and follow ways behind them.
Okay. The enforcer ends up waiting some of his own, but then sure enough, his footsteps are very soft and very light, particularly over the rain, about as perhaps even lighter than his voice. It's immensely difficult to hear unless you're paying attention for it, but he is behind all of you. His rolling gait, and looking back at him, his eyes are very methodically and slowly looking over his entire surroundings. Sure enough, you all end up making it back into the museum. The lights are still on, and Boss Callahan has sort of done away with his guest bed. He's just sort of standing there impatiently, a bit distant from the escalator, leaning on his old people cane. You can arrange yourselves as desired. Here on this little map, who might be taking the front, although Joseph did say he was lagging behind. Byron went first.
All right, Byron will say, when we left him, he was 2 flights up.
He's right there in front of you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought maybe he was up. So, all right, I will give a slight bow towards Boss Callahan and say, the illustrious Joseph.
Boss Callahan, under the brim of his top hat, which is very dry, doesn't look like he's been outside for a while, or perhaps he changed clothes, looks over towards Joseph.
Joseph will offer a nod, but reserve any comment for allow Callahan to speak first.
Boss Callahan looks back at Byron. And now what? You think I have a little dog treat in one of my pockets for you?
Nope. I said I would find him, and I did. That's all. I don't need a doggy treat.
Plus Callahan just stares at you, Byron. Despite the fact that there are now 4 of you instead of 3, he actually seems more comfortable. That's not changing the fact that he's still unamused with Byron, or the fact that his time might end up being wasted, but perhaps the presence of Duke Wily actually puts him more at ease. I love what you're doing there, just slowly inch up off the grid.
Stepping in front of Byron.
That's beautiful.
And now, after a pause, Mr. Callahan, we've had, I am not completely filled in on what my associates may have said. We are looking for Cutter on behalf of fighting Sabat.
How about you go ahead and give me, I know you have enchanting voice, so we'll say manipulation plus empathy. Difficulty 5 after being ingested by enchanting voice.
Plus well-reasoned if it applies. Not that it matters.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes. There's sort of an the hard look that passes from Boss Callahan's face. He looks towards Joseph, and the condescending look is sort of replaced with a little bit of perplexion and perhaps embarrassment as well. She is gone. I don't know where. She vanished about a week and a half after I gave her asylum here. I do allow all anarchs their own freedom to come and go as they please. She apparently chose that.
I was unaware that she had left Staten Island. I believe I was informed that she had not.
He frowns. This information sort of confuses him. And you see him peer over your shoulders to look at his enforcer, Duke Wiley, who also looks a bit confused. He turns to look back towards you. I was told that you had inquired some time ago, and I had the message sent that she had in fact chosen to go her own way. You did not get this.
Well then, it appears that there is some miscommunication between us. I did not receive that message, and that worries me.
Boss Callahan edges over your shoulder, looks at Duke again. Duke shrugs. The Anarch leader is a little concerned now. He looks at Joseph. Is it true that apparently there are some bot packs hunting down this girl?
We are almost certain that it's her they're after. Either that or they are deciding to bypass Manhattan to attack our domain in Astoria directly, which, beyond being very unlikely, would be very coincidental that it would be the same day that we find that it would start just a very short time after we find this girl who claims to be being hunted by the Sabbat. If it all is coincidence, I find it very unlikely. I am forced to believe that they are indeed hunting her. For what purpose, I have absolutely no idea.
Duke speaks up from behind the group. I believe it was Edgar who was looking after her last, Callahan. Callahan frowns considerably. That worthless sot! And the Duke says, don't worry. I'll get him. There is a completely blinding flash of speed. Duke Wily sort of becomes a blur, and he goes storming, absolutely incredibly, almost as if he turned the escalator back on with his mere will. He vanishes out of sight, heading upstairs. Takes about 10-12 seconds, just sort of standing around there awkwardly. Callahan's tapping his cane a bit, and there's a loud cry, and then suddenly from the little balcony type things that where the various escalators are kept, there's a loud cry. Suddenly, one of the yes men that was following behind Boss Callahan just lets out a little scream, and he falls onto the ground with a thud. The limping man who must have clearly been sandbagging all of you for the Duke rather nimbly and agilely leaps from perhaps the third floor, doing several twirls in the air to disperse his energy, and lands rather capably and without harm next to the fallen body.
God damn.
10 out of 10.
Impressive.
And the Russian judges give it a 10.
That's right. Callahan swivels around, peering around his side. It appears that there is a smile curling on his lips, and perhaps there's a reason why he feels significantly more comfortable with this man here. And the Duke slowly stands up. I do believe I have found him. The vampire who's fallen is groaning a bit. Sort of made a little impact on the ground as he fell 3 stories. A bit bruised by the experience, but he's more sort of looking up in fear at the man who just threw him down here. Duke says, Edgar, I believe you have some information for us. Edgar's like, like what? Duke stares seriously. You were the last person to be looking after Leslie Cutter. She was given asylum here, as you well remember, and you were trusted with this mission, and of telling the... He gestures with a gnarled, scarred hand towards you all. These kindred here, that she had gone her own way, as all anarchs are allowed to do. Now would you kindly explain why that didn't occur? Edgar rapidly shakes his head, and he's shaking from side to side rapidly. But I did. He seems very genuine in this belief, which Boss Callahan's not buying it, and Duke's sort of staring at him. You did. Now, would you please explain to me why they don't actually know? They're lying. Really? They came all the way from Astoria, Queens, into Anarch Asylum itself, to speak with Boss Callahan after all the drama that has happened in the city. And they're lying. Edgar doesn't know what to say about this. Edgar then finds himself very quickly picked up. He is now dangling with both of his feet in the air, while the Duke holds him up by his shirt, basically, grabbing at the chest. Now, would you like to tell us the truth? His voice sort of cracks, completely unable to speak in this situation. He's like, I did. I told them.
If I can say something.
Certainly.
Mr. Callahan, if you would not mind me asking, and then turning to the squealing man, how exactly did you inform us, if I may ask?
He, frantically he looks a bit. Duke is actually kind enough to set him down on the ground so that he has control of his faculties. Edgar says, it was about, 10 nights ago. I came, I went, I traveled, to, you have a church in, like, Flushing, right? I went there, and I spoke with someone there, a male, and he said okay, that he got the message. Leslie cut her head up. She decided to go her own way, as anyone given asylum here is allowed to do.
This man, do you have a description of him?
His eyes sort of go wide as he tries to think about this. The man he describes ends up not being anything like Craig at all.
All right. Byron's going to say, I think this man's mind may have been tampered with.
Or he told it to one of our enemies lurking outside your church.
May have inadvertently run across someone who was watching me who told the wrong person.
He said that he worked for you, and Boss Callahan saying, and you believed it. I told you to go find Joseph and tell him. Boss Callahan actually throws his cane. Edgar ducks. Him. Edgar is stunned and just sort of blathers on into silence. The Duke swools his head to look at Callahan and then at the four of you. What would you like done with this man?
I personally do not see any need to involve myself in your affairs here in Staten Island. Whatever you would like to do with him, I will certainly not object, but I would not be too harsh if he indeed has been tricked or somehow deceived. Maybe a little less trusting of him, but his stupidity does not appear to be out of malice. That said, I am most concerned with finding Cutter, and so if you would not mind holding off anything until I am fairly sure that she is located.
Duke looks from you to Boss Callahan. Boss Callahan ends up shouting at Edgar, "Do you know anything of all that would be of use? You are supposed to be watching her." Edgar was like, she said taken interest in the vampire who rescued her. David Green. Duke looks from Edgar, sort of studiously watching him, to Joseph. Does that name ring a bell?
As a side note, I keep oscillating back and forth between wanting to slap the taste out of this guy's mouth and wanting to take him to a speech therapist.
That's it's interesting. She's going after David Green and not Byron. David Green, the big Nosferatu with that threatened to stake her.
I guess she responds better to bad cop.
Guess so.
She also may have recognized who actually, perhaps she figured it out somehow, who actually rescued her from the warehouse.
He is currently in torpor. An unrelated incident. Well, very vaguely related incident. He went a little insane and had to be stopped.
I see. Do you know where he is in this torpor?
Yes, I currently have him.
Then your best option for finding her might be through your fallen friend.
Yes, most certainly. Thank you, Mr. Callahan, both for your help and for everything else. And then turning, we'll turn around and essentially wait for Byron, Marcus, and Jermaine, unless anyone else stops him.
And do any of you other characters have anything to say or do in response to the situation?
No.
Okay.
I will nod politely at Duke Wiley and Boss Callahan and take my leave.
Boss Callahan will end up looking at the four of you, and to Joseph and says, I am sorry that the message was not properly received. My trust was unfortunately misplaced. I do hope you find her.
I do too, and I do not hold it against you. Thank you.
As for the Duke himself, as you all turn a step out to leave, you hear that soft-spoken voice says, Edgar, I think you and I need to have a better talk. There is a loud sort of scream, and then a blur of motion as the two vanish.
So, all in favor of getting on the boat and piloting it back to Queens?
Let's go.
I'm fine with that.
I mean,
All
Marcus
right.
is going to get visibly more attentive as they get closer to the shore, because that's where that feeling came from.
Certainly so.
Jermaine's got stuff he wants to say, but not until we're out in the relative privacy of the middle of the Hudson.
Alright, we're gonna head to... Okay. He's still barking. I need to go check on him, make sure everything's alright downstairs. I'm the only one looking after the house. Take like a
Cool.
3-minute break then. Then we'll begin the process of wrapping up the session.